Hola, buenos días. ¿Cómo están? Bien, bien. It's an honor to be here. My name is Lane Sutton. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, so East Coast, represent. And today I'm here to talk to you about an issue that I have explored a little bit more recently. It's a shift in our generation. So I'm a millennial, proud millennial, also from Generation Z. And that is sort of the digital native side generation. So those are your people who grew up with technology. They've used it. They were born into it. They've used devices from when they were very young. And I've seen this shift in our digital age today where we're actually losing our focus on humanity, society, everyone around us. And this is a shift that can be positive and negative. Technology, it's a beautiful thing. It's powerful. It can do a lot for us. It makes life a lot faster, a lot easier, even better in a lot of ways. So I want to challenge you, and look at this picture here. You'll see a couple, out on a date, having dinner together. And what are they doing? So the girl looks really bored here. She's watching her husband or boyfriend sitting on his phone, and he is distracted, ultimately. You know, he could be in a conversation. You never know what this is. This happens a lot of the time, way too often. And we actually accept it in society. We don't say no to this behavior unless you're at the dinner table and you have the mom or dad who's like, no cell phones at the table. Sometimes you have that, and more power to those people, because we should say that. We should encourage that. We should not encourage this behavior. So to take a look at how this all started, let's look at humanity, how humanity has evolved. Well, you've got your Homo erectus, the hunters and gatherers, and they were going around the woods, taking a look at food and trying to, survive, basically. And then you walk through your other stages, and towards the end, you have Homo sapien. Homo sapien looks like this. They're on the computer, they're focusing on their technology, and it's made our lives so much easier. And in fact, that's where our work takes place. That's how we survive a lot of the time, in classrooms, in our work day to day, and just how we communicate with one another. Out of these communication channels, which do you prefer personally? I'm sure a lot of you would say a mix of these, and it really depends on the person. You might love text messaging for sort of that fast one-to-one interaction or a group message. Most of our time, though, is spent on social media. In fact, 14 hours a day we're spending surrounded by social media, some form of advertising or brand marketing toward us. That's crazy, because we live in a 24-hour day. If it could be more, then that's great, but we are surrounded by media all around. And then what I put last there, in person. And we are losing that art of conversation and that in-person dialogue. And I'm 19 years old. I see it. I actually prefer it, which is unusual for my generation. I'll talk to friends. I'll talk to people around me. Even 40, 50-year-olds, what will they say? They actually love how social media has made communication easier. And that's so true. It has. Reconnecting with people you haven't talked to in a while, college friends, high school friends, reuniting together. But if I have a choice, I hate text messaging. I hate having that interaction over a digital device, because it isn't personal. And I love to talk hours and hours, have a coffee chat. You don't get that same dialogue that you would from any of these other forms of digital communication. That being said, I grew up a digital native. So from a very early age, 3 years old, I was on the computer playing some games, and then started writing some newspapers, had a blog called Kid Critic. And that was really a place for me to get my voice out there. And I realized, wow, anyone can create a website. Anyone can get their voice out there. All you need is to have something to say. And everyone has something to say. So through the power of blogs and creating a great website, you can do that. And when I was 11 years old, started this website, and that was when I realized, wow, okay, so my voice can go beyond my own classrooms, beyond my own town, beyond my family. Instead, you can talk to anyone in the world, and you will get messages from them. They will support you. They may read your blogs, your websites, but that's the power of technology nowadays, and that really set my career. So I would not be here today. I would not be ultimately anywhere, on social media and ever without this introduction of blogs. And I started to actually take that use of social media, where I was meeting people I tweeted online through tweet chats. I started making that more of a personal communication. So I found out about these events called tweet-ups. Tweet-ups are where you meet people you tweet. And the first one was in a bar. Actually, I was 11 years old with my mom in tow, and we showed up, and it was actually a gathering for people to talk about media, what they're working on, projects that they're sharing. And this was really cool to me because this brought the online dialogue offline. And I didn't know that this actually existed in the broader community. So in Boston, there were tons of these tweet-ups. In fact, one of them was 400 people all gathering together from having met over Twitter and over these different social networks. So I started speaking at a bunch of events because of that, sharing my personal brand, and ultimately, that's where I started to meet a lot of people in this industry. And as a marketer myself, I love the power of technology. I've seen it transform because people are ignoring the old forms of technology. When you look at cold calling, for example, you'll have a salesperson call up, and no one likes that anymore. We ignore it. And in fact, that's an interruption to our lives. Well, what has that been replaced by? Instead, it's advertising that we're exposed to all the time, some of it being personal, for better or worse, actually. You'll get a personal advertisement, and you're like, wait, this is kind of creepy. And a lot of the times it is. When you search something, that is contextual behavior. And from a consumer behavior point, I mean, that's just the science of getting inside your head and knowing what actions you're taking. What makes your mind tick? So let's look at the evolution of the mobile phone. We already looked at humanity. Now the mobile phone has changed so much. And my mom, she started off with this big brick phone. She used to tell me about it. She would have it in her purse. She'd be like lugging it, down the street and, trying to make her phone calls. It was a difficult challenge. And I don't know from that. A lot of my friends don't know from that either. Because now, what are we used to? Well, we saw the iPhone generation. We were used to that. Steve Jobs, when he introduced that phone, it was phenomenal. It really changed the way that we communicate, the way that we are doing anything, and brought multiple tasks into one device. And that's the amazing thing about it. So you sort of look, it's gone from big down to actually big, again. So because of the power of these devices, we're seeing bigger devices now that are tablets, all at our fingertips. It's a pretty amazing revolution. There's my former idol, Steve Jobs. He created really this revolution that we all look to today. I'm proud to be a Mac. I've been a Mac since I was really young. And we have a lot to thank here because life has been made a lot easier from this one man and from the revolution that was sparked there. Now, take a look at this photo here. This is an audience in a classroom, very big classroom, actually, lecture hall. And look, they're all using Macs. That's the amazing thing. So from a marketer standpoint, I say to myself, wow, Apple has definitely created this revolution, and people are using it. They're reacting to it, and they sort of conformed into the Mac culture. And when you look at conformity, that is what's happened a lot of the time because trends occur in person by your own friends, but also online. You'll start to hear things about, hey, this is new, this is hot, new things that you should catch on to. And well, now we're all crazy. We watch the keynotes, we take a look and see what's coming out next, and we go out and buy it. And this is the whole early adopter revolution that Apple has wonderfully created. And here's a cute baby. I had to have an excuse to put a cute baby into these slides. And you'll see, years ago, babies were trying to read books, starting to read books, Cat in the Hat, Dr. Seuss, all those great books. Well, now they're being born to touch. And they have that innate feeling of just touching a device and knowing how to use it. And when they look at a computer screen that isn't touchscreen, they're like, wait, what? I can't touch this? So they're actually surprised. And this is what's amazing is how the touchscreen revolution has now sparked an expectation that things are now touch. And we expect them to respond how we're used to, how one device does. So when is it all too much? And the thing that we don't think about, I think, is that overload, the information overload. That happens all too much. I think we're exposed to so much media every day that it's overwhelming. And we don't come back and think about that when we're on a computer 9 hours a day for work. It's unreal. My job is remote. It's all virtual. So all the work I do is on a computer. Video calls, some phone calls, some chats. And that's the revolution that's been created in work. It's a work anytime, work anywhere type of dynamic today. And this is all too much because we've got multitasking and distraction here to play. So ADD, that's catching on a lot more nowadays because of how often we're using these devices. And when we get a buzz, when we get a ring, a notification, We just go to it. We pause our attention spans shift, and our attention spans are now shorter, a lot shorter. In fact, if you go watch a video, what is the average attention span of a video? It's about 5 seconds when someone actually sees the video to capture their interest. Well, that's a really small amount of time nowadays to really capture that. And it's a little bit sad too, because we want everything now. And now, we've been taught and we've been trained to get that instant feedback, and it's sort of that feedback loop of the instant gratification. And technology gives that to us when we want it, because we can easily make a request, we can make a search, and it's on demand. It's all there at our fingertips. We want a movie, Netflix. It's hard to imagine a time living without this. It really is. And we are trained to see the now, because that's available to us at our fingertips. Now, this happens way too often. My friend group as well included. Phones are all the time. And what I'm realizing, it's a filler for boredom. And a lot of the time, if there's a pause in conversation, or there's a shift in the conversation, or just someone has something to do, one person will they will take out their phone, and then everyone else will, if you'll notice that. It's a trend that others follow, because one person does it, then the others do. Take a look at this photo of emojis. Now, I'm a big emoji lover. I love to insert these sort of as a way to use conversation in a different way and communicate that tone that you're actually trying to communicate beyond words. Because how often can you have exclamation points all the time, or use all of these exciting words? Sometimes you need emojis to fill those. Well, you don't get those all the time in text messages and in digital communication. I happen to think this is really funny. I love the top one in the middle. It's really great. This guy must have had fun acting these out, a lot of fun actually. And if only we could have photos of ourselves acting these emojis out, then that would actually portray the real communication we're trying to make. So I love this cartoon as well. Dude, what's the purpose of life? The computers are down, or I'd Google that. So ultimately, we are using Google as our resource, as our answer, and it's funny because you'll see suggested searches in there. Some of the questions are so basic, stuff that we already know, but we just Google it instead because, well, we can, ultimately. As well, this is the future. So Quartz and the New York Times are piloting a way for us to receive the news in a personal way. Quartz is a news website. You can now have a chat about the news, and it will be sort of an artificial intelligence, which is one of the themes I know this event is talking about. But you can have a conversation back-to-back about news, and it will adapt to what you want to know, what you want to learn. Amazon Echo, also a big replacement in the way that we talk and we ask for things. So Siri, Amazon Echo, now we can just make a request by our own voice. So now we're implementing voice instead of just text messaging and just our digital request there. Also WALL-E, I'm sure a lot of you saw this movie. WALL-E was sort of the introduction to the robot. The robot came out and it's changed so much. Now we have digital robots, chatbots even, that are doing that. Also virtual reality. So how many times will you see someone walking down the street wearing these types of goggles and glasses? Chances are a lot in the future. So I love this quote from Sherry Turkle. We expect more from technology and less from each other. And that's true. Nowadays, we are placing more of our responsibility, more of our expectation because of everything that it does for us, but we're actually losing that art of conversation. It's time that we get that back. Life is a beautiful game, and I challenge everyone here today to unplug and disconnect, because it is something that we can experience great things surrounding us at great conferences like this. We can enjoy the great conversations, meeting people, stuff that you don't get digitally. Thank you very much.